Good evening. Well, early evening. This is Sandy Shellis, and I don't know what kind of response we're gonna get at 6 o'clock on a Saturday night, but I've had some thoughts about this whole topic I want to talk about: cow farts and lab-created meat. From an article I read yesterday, and I thought I would sit outside because it's not going to be too much longer that I'm going to be able to sit outside. So I'm going to say hi to everybody, and if you can share, it'd be great, or invite people, because of the fact that I am in Facebook jail. So glad you joined me. So I'm gonna start out with this because this whole lab-created meat thing, it just sounds so disturbing, doesn't it? But there's a lot more to it. So I'm going to start by this article last night that I read in Gizmodo, and I thought, well, what the hell? I'm going to start researching this because I like research everything. So here we go. This is in Gizmodo, which is actually, I really do like this. I like this little online newsletter. And let me say hello to everybody. Marcia and Ed and Marin, Marcella, thank you for coming. And Johnny. Hey, Johnny. You got out? Johnny's out of Facebook jail. I don't know. As far as this Facebook jail thing is concerned, do I have somebody that doesn't like me? Can somebody actually follow and report me and have that happen? I don't know. Am I doing something right? Am I doing something wrong? I don't know. I never thought I was that controversial. But it's nice to see you, Marcella. It really is, Marcy. But let's get started with this, because the article is called, "We've grossly underestimated how much cow farts are contributing to global warming." But it's not funny, because really it's real. It's these cows all over, they burp. Methane. A lot of methane. We've heard about all this, right? So here we go. A new NASA sponsored study shows that global methane emissions produced by livestock are 11% higher than estimates made last decade. So because methane is particularly nasty, as one of those greenhouse gases goes, they have known for a little while that this might be contributing to the ruination of our, beautiful atmosphere. Okay? We've known for quite some time that greenhouse gases, move this around. Greenhouse gases produced by cattle, sheep, and pigs are a significant a contributor to global warming. But the new research published in Carbon Balance and Management shows it's worse than we thought. Revised figures of methane produced by livestock in 2011 were 11% higher than estimates made in 2006 by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which is actually a now out-of-date estimate. There are approximately 1.5 billion cows on the planet, and each and every one of them expelling upwards of 30 to 50 gallons of methane every day. Holy crap. We typically think of farts as being the culprit, but belches are actually the primary source of cattle-produced methane, accounting for 95% of the problematic greenhouse gas. Did you know that? Before I read this, I really thought cows were like the biggest farting animals going, and besides human beings who, I will not go into my own personal lactose intolerance, and I have the giggles today for some reason, but I guess it's not really funny. So it is problematic, though. Methane is 30 times more efficient at trapping the sun's radiative heat than carbon dioxide over a time scale of about a century. There may be more CO2 in the atmosphere than methane, but by unit, it's the more destructive greenhouse gas. Both NASA's Carbon Monitoring System Research Initiative and the Joint Global Change Research Institute contributed to the study. So basically, the estimates were based on relatively modest rates of methane increases from 2000 to 2006, but things changed dramatically afterwards, increasing to tenfold over the course of the next 10 years. So, man, every farm, if you live near a farm, and I live near a lot of farms, we're breathing in a lot of cow farts. Well, burps. A lot of methane. I didn't realize this. So they say it's 15% higher than the global estimates that are produced by the EPA now. And 4% higher than EDGAR, which is the emissions database for global atmospheric research. In many regions of the world, livestock numbers are changing, and breeding has resulted in larger animals with higher intakes of food. This, along with changes in livestock management, can lead to higher methane emissions. And we know that in industrialized nations like the United States, we are meat eaters, and there are farms aplenty and slaughterhouses. And we're not going to go into that because it's disturbing. But what is happening is, in the other countries that are not like the United States or Europe, they want to be like us. They want to have farms. They want to have livestock, and they want to create the meat industry. And they would be so much better off to stop it, not to create the industry, not to do this. So it says, among global regions, there was notable variability in trends in estimated emissions over recent decades. For example, they found that total livestock methane emissions have increased, what did I say, in the most rapidly developing regions of Asia, Latin America, and Africa. So the privilege we have over these animals, it would appear, now comes at a hefty price. That is the Gizmodo article I read yesterday. And, you know, I thought about it, and I'm not a vegan. I don't eat a lot of meat. I'm a little bit weak. I will eat the venison, and my husband's a hunter, although I don't know what's going to happen this year, and I know people argue with me about it or get upset over whatever. And I made a live stream the other night, and someone happened to see that my husband's, one of his deer that, believe me, he ate every bit of it, was hanging on our wall, and I couldn't argue with him about it. He lives here. You know, he wanted to put it up, and what was I going to do? You know, I couldn't tell him no. So here we are. We know that it is a problem. And a cow does, on average, release between 70 and 100 kilograms of methane per year. And it is actually having that negative effect. Are they to blame, though? Are cattle the true cause of climate change? We cannot deny, and this is another thing from timeforchange.org, we cannot deny that farming has a major impact on global warming. Since farming is basically serving the consumer's demand for food, we should look at our nourishment. With increased prosperity, people are consuming more meat and dairy products every year. Global meat production is projected to more than double, from 229 million tons to 465 million tons in 2050, while milk output is set to climb from 580 to 1,043 million tons. Now, 2050. Do we think that it's going to be the same? Are we going to be able to sustain this? No. There is no way that we as a species, human beings, are going to be able to sustain these factory farms and all of this. It's just not going to happen. So this article was, they talked about a Japanese study showed that producing a kilogram of beef leads to the emission of greenhouse gases with a global warming potential equivalent to 36.4 kilograms of carbon dioxide. It also releases fertilizing compounds equivalent to 340 grams of sulfur dioxide and 59 grams of phosphate, and consumes 169 megajoules of energy. So in other words, a kilogram of beef is responsible for the equivalent amount of CO2 emitted by the average European car every 250 kilometers, and burns enough energy to light a 100-watt bulb for nearly 20 days. Okay. So now we're there. We know it's bad. We know that methane, we know that livestock is not a good thing. And everywhere I go around here, there are cows and there are farmers. And then you have to produce the feed. And that's also then taking up so much land, right? So here we go. So as I'm researching this, I hit upon this article. And actually it was on Reddit. You know, I don't even know how I have the time to get here. I don't even have the time to do the things I have to do around here. But here I am, and I see on Reddit this science, this AMA series, beef without cows, sushi without fish, milk without animals. And these are scientists saying they're cellular agricultural scientists, non-profit leaders, and entrepreneurs. These people are talking about essentially fake meat, right? And in this this piece, they've gathered the foremost experts in a burgeoning field of cellular agriculture, okay? Cellular agriculture. So what it is, it's the production of agricultural products from cell cultures. There are two kinds of agricultural products, acellular products and cellular products. Acellular products are made of organic molecules like proteins and fats and contain no cellular or living material, and cellular products are made of living or once living cells. Products harvested from cell cultures are exactly the same as those made from animal or plant. The only difference is how they are made. Now, this is kind of controversial, I think, because the first thing I thought of was, how disgusting. Do any of you want to eat something created in a laboratory that says it's a steak and it was scientifically created? And then how would that affect vegans? Would somebody who's a vegan say, well, geez, it's not killing an animal, maybe I can eat it? So these acellular animal products are made without animals by using a microbe-like yeast or bacteria. And Ed, you say, not me. It just sounds so disgusting. But in an example of milk made in yeast, the yeast were altered by inserting in them the gene carrying the blueprints for casein, a milk protein. Since all cells read the same genetic code, the yeast, now carrying the so-called recombinant DNA, makes casein identical to the casein that cows make. We have made acellular animal products in cell cultures before, believe it or not. Animal insulin could be considered the first cellular agricultural product in 1922. And Frederick Banting, Charles Best, and James Collip treated the first diabetic patient with an insulin injection. It was originally collected from the ground-up pancreases of pigs or cattle. In 1978, these other researchers inserted the gene carrying the blueprints for human insulin into a bacteria. So the bacteria could make insulin identical to the insulin that humans made. Holy crap. Today, the vast majority of insulin is made by this engineered yeast or bacteria. This has made insulin safer, more consistent, and identical to human insulin. I didn't know that. I'm not a diabetic, and I've never done research on it. So we make a food animal product without animals already. Rennet is a mixture of enzymes that turns milk into curds and whey into cheese making. Traditionally, rennet is extracted from the inner lining of the fourth stomach of calves. Oh, God, the things we do. On March 24th, 1990, the FDA approved a bacteria that had been genetically engineered to produce rennet, making it the first genetically engineered product for food. Wow. Today, the majority of cheese making uses rennet enzymes from genetically engineered bacteria, fungi, or yeasts. Rennet harvested from cell cultures is purer, more consistent, and less expensive than animal-derived rennet. So it goes beyond animal products, this article says. A Swiss company called Evolva is making vanillin, the primary component of vanilla flavor, from yeast. The vast majority of vanillin is produced from petrochemicals, or chemically derived from lignin, a constituent of most plant cell walls. The small percentage of vanillin from vanilla beans is harvested in tropical forests from the vanilla orchid. A cultured vanillin would avoid rainforest farming and chemical synthesis of vanilla. Ginkgo Bioworks, a company based in Boston, is using cellular agriculture to produce flower fragrances from engineered microbes rather than flowers. So basically what this article and what I am talking about is, could we get ourselves out of danger? And could we reverse global warming if we were to take every farm, which is not going to happen, get rid of cows, goodbye cows, no more propagating of animals, and do these creations in these labs to feed the ridiculous 7.5 billion human beings on the planet today, which is way, 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 way high. They say that it's cellular agriculture. That's what they're talking about. So here we have the discussion of livestock versus cellular agriculture. It could be the wave of the future. But then what happens to the farmers? Are farmers going to go into a laboratory to create cellular food? I don't think so. Cells from a particular species and tissue type are assembled on a scaffold to grow on, with serum, food for the cells to feed on while they grow, in an environment that promotes growth. Today, tissue engineering is a relatively new scientific pursuit. While with a focus on clinical applications such as growing skin for burn victims or organs for patients requiring organ transplantation. The focus is on tissues having a biological function. So in other words, the tissue engineered organ needs to be able to work in a living person. And we would need to be able to eat this crap. And Marcella says she can't do dairy. And guess what? Neither can I, or I sound like one of those cows. So, while science behind growing tissue for an organ transplant is similar to growing muscle tissue for food, both come with a very different set of expectations and considerations. For example, tissues for meat and leather do not need to work as an organ in someone's body. So, meats need to have a particular nutritional value, mouthfeel, and taste for people to want to eat it. Leather needs a certain strength or texture or softness. All cellular agricultural products need to be made affordably. This means producing tissues at a scale much larger than what is required for patients. So, in our bodies, it says, blood vessels bring nutrients and remove waste products from our tissues. This allows tissues in our bodies to be quite thick. But if you don't have vessels, the cells do not have access to what they need to grow. So really this goes on to talking about how they do it. And they say the benefits of cellular agriculture is that fewer environmental impacts, a safer, purer product, and a more consistent supply. That is because the product is being produced in a safe, sterile, and controlled conditions. And another, they say, exciting. Lynn, you said, is this a sci-fi channel? They say another exciting aspect of cellular agriculture is the ability to design and tune what you are making. For instance, you could make meat with fewer saturated fats and more unsaturated fats, or you could make leather of different thicknesses. You could make milk without lactose or eggs without cholesterol. Holy crap. You know, I see it happening. I can see it happening. And even Quartz magazine, which I like, had an article called Man-Made Meat Really Isn't Weirder Than Chicken Nuggets. And I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but in a nutshell, which are natural, in a nutshell, the future could be giving us fake meat to actually then reduce the amount of CO2 and methane emitted by factory farming. So it really is. It does sound good, though. It does sound good, even though the first thought of the food makes you want to barf. It does sound like if this kind of thing were to take off, and if the United States could start it, we could start going down on factory farming. We could start making the process of killing for us to get something on our dinner table obsolete. But would that happen? I mean, we have farmers all over the world that need to have a job. But maybe in the future, as this takes off, could it be that then that kind of farming, animal farming, just goes away? And vegetable farming, that's pretty big industry, and we vegetable farm ourselves. Could it be that vegetable farming does take the place of animal farming? So the more I think about this, the more I think, you know, maybe we're onto something here with this. But most people are going to say it's disgusting, it's horrible, it sounds awful. But as I've been doing this live stream, I'm thinking, if it avoids killing and the death of all these animals, and it avoids slaughterhouses, my God, it's just amazing. I don't know if this is something that I will see in my lifetime, but you know, certainly our kids are going to see it, and maybe I will see it in my lifetime. But I'm going to show you something before I go, and maybe we have some questions. I don't know, you guys are talking about stuff. Joanne says, use the food you buy, make leftovers instead of tossing out food. Oh, I never toss out food, and I have a compost downstairs. I'm going to show you something, what I got to do today. Look there's my kale, this came out of the garden. All this has to be processed. So what I do, I mean, I love kale. I will eat all of this. We eat it, we put it in soup, and you have to blanch it. So you start with the pot, you boil the water 3 minutes, and then after that, you put it in an ice bath. So once it gets into the ice bath, then you lay it out on a towel, and it cools off. So that's what my Saturday night is. I'm going to be doing processing kale, and I've got green beans and yellow wax beans to do also. Now let me tell you something. This is what this girl got upset about, and I can't say anything. You know, we eat the venison. My husband hunts. I don't know how. I can't change the guy. I mean, he's been doing this longer than I've known him, all his, since he was a kid. And they eat it. I mean, my brother-in-law, he does the hides. He tans the hides. He makes gloves and all kinds of things from the hide. So nothing goes to waste. And then I can also show you as I walk down really quickly, so that I don't take up too much time as we go down the steps that I have. Oh, and you can see it's not. There's the wood from the tornado. We're doing much better. And I did mean to show you guys the way we've stacked the wood. By the way, here's some of it, and then here's some of it. We're gonna stay pretty. The phone rang. We're gonna stay pretty warm, but I am gonna show you one thing before we go, and this is my compost. It's a composter. It's made of plastic. It's I put everything in here. So I take it, you roll it around, but you open it and you put your compost in there, and I will have soil from this. My soil is going to cover the garden. So before we close up the garden, what I've got in that will be spread all over the garden. And anybody that's asking about Doug, he is doing phenomenally. He is amazing. He just is doing really good. And no, we don't waste anything. He doesn't waste anything. So for today, these are the things to think about. The future. The absolute future is lab-grown cultured meat. If people need to eat meat, they want to eat meat. If we want to solve the problem of CO2 and methane as I started, in cow farts and burps, is this something that we should be thinking about? So at first it sounds disgusting. At first it sounds really, really creepy. But then, when you think about it, maybe it is the wave of the future. Maybe we can get rid of factory farming. Maybe we could stop the slaughtering of all those cows and pigs and chickens and all those animals that do know when it's time to go. Something to think about. And I thank you guys for asking me about Doug, because you've been following me. So, anyway, I thought that was interesting. In this whole sea and cadre of all these crazy things going on, it's not so crazy to think about getting rid of these farms. And if you can't go vegan, maybe people will get used to that. Ann says no way with the lab meat. Only if it keeps meat eaters from eating the real thing. I wouldn't touch it. Well, maybe the next generation will. We want to have a next generation, don't we? And we also know that abrupt climate change is upon us. And I'm not going to sit here and say that we have a certain amount of time, 2050, blah, 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 but we don't know. So maybe, I don't know if I'm ever going to have any grandchildren, because my daughter's, again, she always says she's not a breeder, but who knows? Lynn says, what will we tell our grandchildren about what cows look like? And I guess I'll end with that. You can all think about that. Thank you for coming. But I'm going to please ask you, please share this to as many groups as you can. I can't. And, I don't want to pay Facebook $7 to boost a post. So James says we can factory farm and just collect the waste materials and use them more responsible. Moral issue aside around animal treatment. I hear you. I don't know. I'm on my way out from eating animals. I'm not a vegan yet. It's taking me time. This year it'll be weird if I don't even know if Doug's gonna hunt. Can't even lift his arm, but he's doing well. Okay, guys, peace. Have a wonderful Saturday evening wherever you are. Be safe. Love ya. Bye.